Hey everyone, it's Triple Mango Threat or Ashley, and today I'm going over the upgrades for Riveteer Rampage. If you'd like any of the cards I mention, I'll have them all linked in the description down below, and if you buy them, you help out the channel at no additional cost to you, so thank you. So let's start with our commander, Henzi Toolbox Torre. So Henzi costs black, red, green. It's a 3/3 Devil Rogue that says each creature spell you cast with mana value 4 or greater has Blitz. The Blitz cost is equal to its mana cost. You may choose to cast that spell for its Blitz cost. If you do, it gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Blitz costs you pay cost 1 less for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. So our commander is going to help us reduce the cost of our creatures if we're willing to have them die at our next end step. But we also get to draw a card when they do die. So moving on to the cards I'm going to be adding to the deck, we have Ancient Stone Idol. This costs 10 mana, but what's really sweet is that it's a 12/12 with a flash, and it's going to cost 1 less for each attacking creature. It has Trample, and when it dies we create a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with Trample. So already we're promoting it to die with our commander by blitzing it out, so let's assume we have to hard cast it for its blitz cost. So we have our commander out, we cast this for 9 mana. But in a more favorable case, let's say we're attacking with 5 creatures, that's going to reduce the cost already by 5. We can end up casting this for 4 mana, it dies anyways from combat or at our end step, and then we get a 6/12 out of this. That's really cool. Next we're talking about Baloth Null. So for 4 green black, it's a 4/5 zombie beast. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. I think it's important that we're returning cards back to our hand so we can keep getting that blitz cost instead of our battlefield. So I think this card will be a great addition to the deck, especially for 8 cents. That's an amazing budget upgrade. Next we're talking about Chainer Nightmare Adept. So this is for 2 black and a red. It's a 3/2 human minion. If we discard a card, we can cast a creature spell from our graveyard this turn, and we can only activate this ability once each turn. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until end of turn. This will not work with Blitz, but by discarding that card and casting a creature from our graveyard, that could have been the creature that we had sacrificed from our blitz cost with our commander previously. So we never really lose those creatures, we can keep getting them back with Chainer. Again, 11 cents for this card. Next is Gravedigger for 3 and a black. It's a 2/2 zombie. Again, when it enters the battlefield, we return a target creature from our graveyard to our hand. 12 cents for this one. Greater Good for 2 and 2 green. We're going to sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, then discard 3. We have huge creatures in the deck that we can take advantage with this, and it's going to be really awesome. They're going to die anyways to our commander's blitz ability, so why not draw a card from blitz and draw cards from their power? This is great. Next is Midnight Reaper. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, it's going to deal 1 to us, and we get to draw a card. And drawing cards is super helpful in a deck, and that 1 damage is not going to mean anything to us. Next we're talking about Molten Primordial. So if we blitz this out, it's going to cost us 1 less, assuming we've cast our commander 1 time, so it can end up costing us 6 mana instead of the 7. It's a 6/4 avatar with haste. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target creature that player controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures, they gain haste. This is cool because this really can be a one-time effect already, but by reducing the cost of this, that's even better. And by taking some of their creatures, we can probably end up sacrificing their creatures with the sack outlets we already have in the deck. So not only are we dealing damage with these creatures, they're going to have creatures in their graveyard that they're losing. This is a cool one. Next is Phyto Titan. For 4 green green, it's a 7/2 plant elemental. When it dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of his or her next end step. I like this because we do have sack outlets in the deck, or ways to draw cards from sacrificing our creatures, and we draw cards equal to their power, so drawing 7 off of this, sacrificing it to get another creature with cards like Evolutionary Leap. This is a really sweet one to have. Sadly, it does not go back to our hand, but this can be a really cool one. And the next primordial we're talking about is Sepulchral Primordial. So for 5 black black, it's a 5/4 avatar with Intimidate. When it enters the battlefield, we grab a creature from each opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under our control. Very similar to Molten Primordial. And again, it's probably going to be that one-time effect unless we can keep getting it back to our hand, reducing the cost of it with our commander. Assuming we've cast our commander a lot, this can end up being a 4 mana spell instead of 7. That'd be really cool. And the last card I want to talk about is Tortured Existence. Since our creatures are dying a lot, I think this would be a really sweet one for us to add. For 1 black, this is an enchantment that says we can pay a black, choose and discard a creature card, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So whenever our creatures die, we just grab them right back, we discard another creature we don't need at that time, or we can just grab again with Tortured Existence by discarding another creature. This is a really cool one, and can be very helpful if we need something out of our graveyard instead of what's in our hand at that time. So let's talk about the cards I will be removing from the deck, starting with Bellowing Mauler. For For 4 and a black, it's a 4/6 Ogre Warrior. At the beginning of your end step, each player loses 4 life unless they sacrifice a non-token creature. I'm getting rid of this one because while it is a form of removal, 4 life doesn't seem like a big hit to me. I feel like we can do better, and also with the creatures we'll be adding, I think that's going to go along with the deck more than this one. Dodgy Jalopy. So this is a vehicle for power, star, and toughness 5. It costs 2 and a green. It has trample. Its power is equal to the highest mana value among creatures you control, which from what I can see, we have 7 CMC as our highest, and it has crew 3 and scavenge for 2 and a green. I don't think this belongs in the deck. I could be wrong though. I just didn't see this working very well with it. First Responder for 3 and a green. It's a 3/3 Ogre Citizen with vigilance. At the beginning of your end step, you may return another creature you control to its owner's hand, then put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to that creature's power on First Responder. We're not a counters deck, and also this is only at our end step. I mean, it kind of makes sense. We're returning things back to our hand, but I personally like the idea of interacting with my graveyard more, and I think that's going to make more sense. Grime Gorger. Whenever this attacks, exile up to 1 card of each card type from defending player's graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on it for each card exiled this way. So this is great for removal, and it also has Menace, which makes sense. But yeah, it's just not fitting the deck like I want it to. Overgrown Battlement. I have no idea why this is in the deck. This is, from what I can see, the only creature with Defender. So I guess this was a mana dork that they put in here. I'd rather a Llanowar Elves. That would make a lot more sense. Riveteer's Charm. For black, red, green, it's an instant. We can choose one of these. Target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker they control with the highest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. The next mode is exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until your next end step, you may play those cards, and the last mode is exile target player's graveyard. I didn't think this was very good for the deck, so I took it out. Next is Teamer of Sabertooth. So we can return another creature we control to our hand. If we do, this gains indestructible. Again, this makes sense, returning creatures to our hand, but we already do that, and we also get that dies trigger off of our commander, so we get to draw cards, which is the type of cards I've added to the deck, so we don't really need things like this. The Beamtown Bullies. So this is meant to be its own commander in my opinion, and there's a lot of mean cards to go along with it, but long story short, we can put cards under our opponent's control and they are goated, and usually you want to have cards that are super mean that like exile their entire library, usually really bad cards this takes advantage of. Next is Thragtusk. When it enters the battlefield, we gain 5 life. When it leaves the battlefield, we make a 3/3 green beast creature token. I think we have better cards to take advantage of, and this is fine on its own. I just don't want it for the deck. The last card I'm removing is Tree Shaker Chimera. It's an 8/5 for 7 mana. All creatures block Tree Shaker if able, and when it dies, we draw 3 cards. This makes sense whenever we're blitzing it, but I like what I'm adding more, especially like Sepulchral Primordial or Molten Primordial. We're able to grab our opponent's things, which I love to do, so that's my personal preference. We're drawing cards off of them dying anyways, so I just had to take this one out. Be sure to check out my other upgrade videos. This is the 3rd one in the series. We have 2 more to go. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.